Thank you. Roll call, please.
President Rutt.
Here.
Pro Tem Ford.
Here.
Councilmember Mosher.
Here.
Councilmember Lamb.
Here.
Councilmember Dandelides.
Here.
Councilmember Papachek.
Here.
Councilmember Comparodi.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. Item 4, presentations. We have none today. Item number 5, call to the public. Each person wishing to address the village council shall be afforded an opportunity to do so. If you wish to comment, please stand or raise a hand to indicate you wish to speak. When recognized, give your name and address, direct your comments to the chair, and comments are limited to 4 minutes. Is there anybody who would like to speak on a non-agenda item? Seeing none, I will close call to the public. Item number 6, approval of the agenda. By order of the president, no matters will be discussed after 9:30 p.m. unless the council votes to continue the meeting. Council. Mr. Dandelides. Not yet. Just approval of the agenda, and then when we get to consent agenda, then we move on.
Support.
We have a motion and support. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 7, consent agenda. All items on the consent agenda are approved by one vote. So we have item A, approval of Village Council regular meeting minutes, December 8, 2025. Item B, receive and file of ad hoc legal services committee meeting minutes of December 1st, 2025. Item C, receive and file of ad hoc legal services committee meeting minutes of December 10, 2025. Item D, approval of joint informational meeting of the Downtown Development Authority Board and Village Council of December 8, 2025. Item E, receive and file Downtown Development Authority regular meeting minutes of November 18, 2025. F, receive and file of investment report for November 2025. G, receive and file financial statements for December 2025. H, receive and file invoice distribution report for December 22, 2025. I, receive and file invoice distribution report for January 13, 2026. J, receive and file November 2025 building permit report. K, receive and file Orion Township Building Department 2025 annual report. L, receive and file December 2025 planning and zoning monthly report by McKenna. And item M, receive and file December 2025 police department activity report. N, approval of special event Lake Orion Lions Club Jubilee. O, budget amendment various. And P, planning commission board appointment. Council. Mr. Dandelides.
So I would request that we pull down item N, the special event Lake Orion Jubilee.
I'm also going to request item P, Planning Commission Board appointment, to be pulled down as well. Mr. Lamb?
I had a comment on item D, or the DDA informational meeting.
Okay. Anything else? I'll move to approve the consent agenda with items D, N, and P pulled down for discussion.
Support.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. So item D, approval of joint informational meeting of the Downtown Development Authority Board and Village Council, December 8, 2025. Mr. Lamb.
I'm sorry to see that Mr. Gibb had left. The informational meeting, I think, was to, it was a report on the DDA budget or activities or whatnot. And I noticed there seemed to be a large missing section of the presentation. I couldn't find anything that talked about the $300,000 in employee salaries and office expenses. They talked about all the other fees, but they didn't talk about the $300,000 in salaries and office expenses. So I thought maybe one time when Mr. Gibb returned, he might give us a report on what the $300,000, what actually was the dollar amount for the manager, assistant manager, staff, and office expenses and stuff. That's all. I just want to make that comment. Thank you.
Okay. Then I will move to approve the meeting minutes as presented.
Support.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Item N, approval of special event Lake Orion Lions Club Jubilee. Mr. Dandelides.
So I think probably everybody that's here was here for the last hour. So I just think we need to have additional discussion if there are any questions or any other public comments. So I get, make a motion, I'm going to move the motion first, or?
Sure.
Okay, so I'm going to make the motion as presented to not approve the Jubilee for 2026 until we have we had a plan that would achieve fire department approval.
Support.
We have motion and support, so discussion. Would you like to make any comments first?
I would, and I'm really going to kind of reiterate what I said earlier in the hour. But I don't think this comes down to either support or not support, lack of support for the Lions Club or the event. I fully support the Lions Club. I support the event. I understand, I recognize the importance of the Jubilee. I recognize the importance of the charitable efforts that this brings to the Lions and to the community. I can tell you that my wife and I delivered 9 baskets to Pontiac in December ourselves. We have helped with the baskets, the preparation of the baskets in the past. This is certainly not whether or not I personally support the Lions, but I took an oath when I accepted this position on village council, and part of that oath was to protect the well-being and the life and limb of our citizens and our residents and our visitors. And I also, part of that oath was to the priority of the village, so, protecting the village from any kind of negative, I'm going to just call it liability, from any negative exposure. And I feel that by approving an event that is clearly not approved by the experts from our fire department, that we've asked for that input, I think that's really, in my mind, that's a violation of the oath that I've taken and the responsibility that I have as a councilman in protecting the village and protecting the people. So it's a very difficult motion to make, but in my heart, I think that's the right motion. And again, I'm willing to help try and come up with a solution, because I believe that there is a possibility for a solution. But I can't in good conscience vote to approve as submitted.
Mr. Ford?
Yeah, I agree with a lot that has been said in a sense. We hate pitting one against the other, and they seem to get along, and then so the decision falls on us. And we took, I think we took a little hit last year when we voted for it. We were accused of not respecting the fire department, and that's not the case. And if we go the other way this time, we'll be accused of something else. But the decision is still ours. A couple things, and I'm going to put this in a form of questions, I guess, because what can be done? Would getting, more insurance, we tried that last year and it didn't work the last minute. They couldn't get more, but maybe with more time, could they get more insurance? Would that change how we feel about it? Change what's done for a fundraiser. I mean, I don't know how much money this generates for the Lions. I know that it does a lot, but it's in segments too. How much money does the beer tent get versus how much money do they get from the rides? Are there other things that we can do besides rides? Have the beer tent, have the art fair type event to go along with that beer tent and the Lions Club function. We've talked about moving it and the issues that might come up with that. Are those the things that need to be done, need to be looked at to get this? And I'm not looking to, the only way the fire department's going to approve it is if it's a complete change of what we are currently seeing. And so I think that's the direction that we need to go. The motion is not to approve the Lions Club Jubilee until we get fire approval, but not included in that motion is, you know, what might need to happen on the Jubilees end of things to make a change. And I think part of what you're suggesting that we can work with them on is finding maybe an alternative way and something they really need to look at, the Lions Club, an alternative way to make money. And I think as an individual, and I think maybe that's what you mentioned, George, is that I'm willing to work in that direction with them to see what the village can do if there's a change. You know, and I come at this from the standpoint of, I mentioned this before in years past, I have a picture of my brother and I as a 5-year-old and a 6-year-old riding a ride. And I'm 71, and I'll let you do the math. So it's been going on a long time, and having lived in the village for a long time, it's a big weekend, and we've always enjoyed it. But we need to make a change and figure out a way that we can support the Lions and their fundraising efforts, and obviously show respect for the individuals that evaluate it from the fire department end of things. Not only did I have a picture of us on that ride, but, you know, I had both our fire chief and fire marshal in school. And you know, I have a ton of respect for them. So that's kind of where I stand right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Camperoni.
For me, this motion, maybe you need to put a date on it. We can't leave these guys hanging, okay? And basically, we're kicking the can down the road again. And I don't like that. Those guys have been working together very well. Last year, they came up with a plan, and everybody was happy, well, happy as they could be. I think this motion that George has made is just kicking the road down the can, kicking the can down the road. And if everybody votes for it, I would like to see a closing date on it, you know, and not 3 months from now, you know, something maybe a little sooner. I support these guys and their functions and all that. Yeah, maybe there is time for change. Maybe they can get shuttle buses and do all that, but everything that they do is going to cost them more money, and they might as well not have the thing if they're not going to make money. So, but that's how that's the only way I would accept George's things, if we put a time frame on it. It's just to be fair to everybody involved.
Ms. Mosier.
So I really appreciate everything the Lions Club does. I have nothing against the Lions Club at all, but I have to go with the professionals and the fire department and look at the safety. And although we've been fairly fortunate, I mean, with the years gone by, I don't want something to happen. So I really think we have to look at alternatives. And I do agree with Alex, maybe a time frame, but I'm just concerned, and the fire department are the professionals, and I totally appreciate everything that they do for us. I appreciate the Lions Club, but I think we have to look at the whole picture, and all you need is one time for something to happen, and I don't want to see that, not in our little village of 3,000 people.
I think what stands out to me is how, even if we were to approve it right now, it feels like a long-term sustainability question that feels a little bit untenable, because you could get approval today, but then next year, who knows who's going to be up here, and they may say no. And then, 2 years from there, there's a different council, and they might say, well, bring it back. And so we know with fire codes that those aren't going to change to become more lax. And so every year, we are going to be in this same position, and that feels a little bit untenable for me, moving forward, even if we move forward today. I love my elephant ears. I come down to get my elephant ears all the time, and they're better than the ones at the Oakland County Fair. Skirbeck's are, and I'll put that out there. And I appreciate the creative thought that is starting to come out. I'm not sure that Skirbeck would come if it was just games only with elephant ears. You know, they're a big carnival company. We're already probably as small as we can be for them to come out. Is there another carnival company that could come and just do games? I'm not going to ask you to come up here and give us your financials right now. You probably don't know all of them off the top of your head. If you wanted to, I would welcome you to come up. Yeah, in just a moment, I'll let you answer those questions. How much revenue comes from games versus rides versus food versus beer tent? You know, what are the biggest money why are people coming? Those are all good questions. You know, is there a way to maybe different organizations in the community come and create a carnival booth? And, you know, they donate their time, their resources, and the proceeds go to, I'm just trying to think like what could be a long-term solution, because it doesn't feel like, even if I want to approve this right now, even if, you know, a majority of us wanted to approve this right now, it doesn't feel sustainable long-term. And that's concerns me, that it's the same conversation every single year, and it just up to whoever's up here on the council. So I'll ask if any other council members have some comments, and then I'll let you come up. Anybody else have any comments they want to make right now?
Yeah, just to kind of reiterate, I really enjoyed the Jubilee. I've been a few times. It's a great event, but I also value the expertise of the fire marshal. And, you know, you play it out in your head. It would be a really small risk or a chance that a fire would occur downtown on the day of the Jubilee. But it's potentially a catastrophic risk, which I'm just not comfortable with, you know, and that's where I'm kind of landing in my head. It's, you know, I really hope that there's something to keep it. Maybe it's reimagined. It's great having events like that downtown, so I hope there's a workable solution. I don't have those answers, but I think what kind of changed it for me, you know, thinking back to that fire in '22, and that brought, I think, sort of a new awareness or new information to light that, yeah, this is a potential massive risk with catastrophic implications, potentially. So that's what kind of weighed into things for me.
Mr. Yanalidis?
Yeah, so I was just going to ask for more clarification on how we might put a time frame around this, because I don't feel like I don't think the timing is in our control. I'm not so sure if we said, okay, we want a decision by, call it March 1st, who's going to, I mean, who are we putting that time constraint on? It's not, we can't do something by March 1st. So I'm not so sure how we would frame that into the motion and have any validity to it.
Mr. Lamb and then Mr. Ford.
I agree. So there's, you know, so far we've all said things that we all agree on. I really like that a lot. Okay, for this council to all say things in the same direction is great. My understanding of the motion is that we're denying their application, but we're offering them the opportunity to leave, you know, the application in place and modify it. Now, the fire department's already explained to me that they're not willing to, because their wheelhouse doesn't include telling people how to arrange things. Their wheelhouse is coming at it from, you know, you bring it to us. The village, we're a little bit better off on that. We can offer land, facilities, staffing, money, you know, I mean, it's not like it's all on your own. I mean, I've talked about offering municipal property for use, not just public right away, but municipal properties. And I even made a suggestion that we might inquire with our DPW director about, you know, some of the concerns about grounds and fences and stuff. You know, I've looked over these sites for different reasons, and the fences are all shot anyway. The DPW yard is all gravel. We have a heavy equipment sitting right there, ready to facilitate the gravel access ramp for the semi-tractor at the 8.5% slope they need to keep from damaging their equipment. And I'm ready to move forward with the Lions Club to try and make this happen. You know, maybe another banner, 2 banners, flashing lights, maybe, you know, spreading some of the, as other people suggested, spreading some of the games around into various parts of the village. We actually, if they relocated off of the streets, we'd have more parking to offer. Maybe people would come and park in the lots and then go to the eat dinner and then go on the rides and eat elephant ear. I've looked it over. You know, the walking, the only downside, I'll give it down right now, is that I didn't see a direct walking path from downtown to Atwater Park. So what could we, you know, if that's a big issue, what could we as a community facilitate that? Or, you know, someone had said a shuttle, you know, maybe we could get our expensive trolley bus out there and let it run around in the circle all day. And then, or perhaps we could go out and, you know, decorate the sidewalks or provide some temporary wayfinding. You know, the DDA director, you know, could we inquire with them? He's not here. And so that's my understanding of the situation.
Mr. Ford?
Yeah, I think, well, one thing, I think to George's point too, is that we met early, so there would be time to make some changes. Last year, there wasn't time. We had this early meeting, so we know that where the fire department stands, and I think that we need to, what Eric said, reimagine. And some of that doesn't necessarily fall on our job to reimagine, but if Lions Club were to come before us and say, well, we still like those dates, we still like the beer tent, can we do these things instead? So I guess that's kind of what I'm looking for at this point. Thank you.
I'll invite public comments. We'll start with our Lions Club members here.
Hi, everybody knows me, Dan with the Lake Orion Lions. So, a couple things. One, as it refers to the size of the carnival, we have met with Skirbeck multiple times. We're actually technically smaller than we're supposed to be per contractual obligations and the way that they're set up. Trying to get another company, another carnival. These contracts are set years and years and years out. You know, we signed a contract for a multi-year contract, and to get a carnival at even another weekend, we have found is impossible. We spent 2 years, I want to say it was like 3 years ago, me and Chris sat down trying to find another carnival, hoping that maybe we could find a broken contract during COVID or something, and it didn't work. We couldn't find another company to try to go with a smaller carnival company to help facilitate, you know, the space needed. In addition to that, you brought up like the financial gains or whatever, and although I can't give you exact numbers, what I can tell you, and I can't give you exact numbers because I don't have them off the top of my head, but what I can tell you is the Jubilee brings in right around 60% of our yearly budget for that money to go back into the community. All right? I know everybody here has seen what that does for the community. The baskets that go out, the residents who need ramps because they're disabled, or, you know, when that fire happened, we reached out, we put money off of that. All that different stuff. Like, we're a community program, all that money goes right back out. And when you're talking 60% of our yearly budget, I mean, I could tell you it's upwards of around 30 grand plus. You know, like I said, I can't give you exact numbers because if our treasurer was here, she'd pull it out 30 seconds. But unfortunately, that's not my job, so I don't keep those numbers that handy. You know, I do have a couple concepts to your comment about, let's put a timeline down. We're willing to meet with anybody. I think the only way to respectfully put a timeline on anybody, in my opinion, is that we don't allow our schedules to not accommodate a meeting in a timely manner. Because if the fire department's not going to approve anything we bring, then essentially you've kicked the event out of downtown by making that motion, whether intended or not, George, and that's no offense. I understand your reason for your motion, but they've already said nothing will happen, they'll approve. So by making that motion, the event has now been removed from downtown because the fire department has already said, black and white, they won't approve it. I would ask the same thing I have asked every year. You know, it's give and take on both sides. And we continuously have to give. There's one other thing I wanted to mention. Sorry, I had a list in my head. It's gone. Now, I thank everybody for the decisions and appreciate what you guys have to do. But note, you know, we do our best to work within the guidelines you give us. And we try to do our best for the community. But if you tie our hands and remove this from the event, this event from being downtown with the current motion, there's going to be a lot more problems that we can't assist with because the budget's not going to be there. So, and I get that. I'm tugging at your heartstrings. I'm sorry, but it's my job. So, thank you.
Thank you. Other public comments? Any other council comments? So the motion that we have on the floor right now is to not approve the Lake Orion Lions Club Jubilee Special Event Application and License Agreement until there is fire department approval for the event. Is that accurate?
I think it's really more until we have a submission that meets fire department approval. I don't want the motion to sound like I'm putting the onus on the fire department. That's not.
Right.
That's not where it
Okay.
belongs.
So to not approve the special
I
event.
wouldn't make a negative motion,
Right.
but I also, I don't know how I make a motion that I wouldn't vote for either.
Right. So the motion would be to not approve the special event application and license agreement until the submission is one that can be approved by the fire department. And so that might be different location. It could be reimagining the event. It could be, any number of possibilities that were up here. Does anybody? Yes.
Sorry, I totally just remembered. The
I'll allow.
feasibility, you brought up the feasibility of this event to continue to move forward. I do want to stress, we have looked at that. We have discussed with the DDA. The game plan is once the property they're under all that construction with, I'm sorry, I don't know.
Lumberyard.
The address is the lumberyard, whatever it was, is to be able to move the majority, if not all of it, to that property to get it out of downtown. So feasibility long-term, we are looking at that. Unfortunately, we're tied as to how long that progress happens, which I believe they told us last year, it's like 3 years out, two to 3 years. And I was actually just told in between our two meetings that there's supposed to be even more space than they originally planned for us to be able to use. So, yeah, for parking. So we're hoping that they're moving along on right, but we are looking at longevity and continuance of this program, like your concerns were. We have taken that into consideration. Sorry, I just sat down with that.
Any other council comments? Seeing none, we have a motion and support. I'll ask for a roll call for this, please.
Councilmember Camparoni.
No.
Councilmember Papachak.
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb.
Yes.
Councilmember Danielides.
Yes.
Councilmember Mosher.
Yes.
Pro Tem Ford.
Yes.
President Rudd.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you to everybody who's here, and I know there's going to be continued further discussions, and yeah, we welcome those. So, moving on, Planning Commission Board appointment. I pulled this down because we have our applicant here who I'm requesting appointment to for the Planning Commission Board. So I would love for him to just come on up and introduce himself so he can meet us and we can meet him.
Hi, I'm Matt Craig. Lived here roughly 9 years, almost 10 now. I live over on Bellevue Island. I'm excited to be I don't know, officially, or not officially, but suggested as an appointee for it. So not sure if I have any questions that I need to answer or anything, but more than willing to.
Yeah, so just wanted to give the council an opportunity to, introduce yourselves or ask any questions too if you want. Yeah.
The George Danielides, I also live on Bellevue, but on the mainland. Anyway, thank you very much for volunteering your service and your time. Much appreciated. Thank you.
Do you have any background? You've been here 9 years?
Nothing within the village. My background is working in supply chain as a career. I've done that for the last nearly 20 years, both from projects to managing roughly $1 billion in spend at previous jobs. So very oriented or detail oriented, working a lot on spreadsheets, figuring out where money's going here and there. So I think that kind of qualifies to help along with the process.
Planning needs a mixed perspective, and not just a bunch of engineers and builders. So, having people that actually work in buildings and know about money and things like that is very helpful. Just the fact that another one in the village is 2,900 residents is willing to put a few hours in for free is great. So I look forward to the next meeting.
All right. Well, thank you.
Anybody else? Well, then I will go ahead and make a motion to appoint Matt Craig as Commissioner to serve on the Village of Lake Orion Planning Commission with a term to expire April 30, 2026, and likely to be reappointed after that. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Welcome to our Planning Commission, and thank you for your serving. Item number, we have no public hearing, so item 10A, council members suggested goals and objectives, fiscal year 2026, 2027. Mr. McCleary.
Your Honor, members of council, council requested that its members submit any proposed fiscal year 2026-27 goals and objectives to the village manager by December 19th. For the village manager to consolidate the submissions and place them on tonight's agenda. You have been provided with those consolidated goals and objectives.
Thank you. There is no recommended motion, but open the floor for any council members to have any discussion around those. Yeah, Mr. Danielides.
So, I guess to start off with, I feel like the goals and objectives for the upcoming fiscal year are really the roadmap for what we as a council and our administration, that's really the roadmap for what we ought to be focused on for the coming year. So one of the things, I made the motion that we submit, we have the opportunity to submit our ideas, and part of that motion was also, or part of the thought was to get those out in front of the public and have them out there for public discussion and hopefully for some public input, so that we as a council weren't doing that necessarily in a vacuum. We were trying to solicit, or my goal was to solicit input from the community, from the residents, so that I felt like the things that we were focused on, or that we were going to be focused on for the year, were representative and had input from our residents. So that was really the purpose of trying to get that out ahead of the game, and then also solicit input and feedback from residents, hopefully in this public forum. That was the goal.
Mr. Lamb?
Yes, I did not submit any written goals and objectives because mine are pretty much the same, which is fiscal responsibility for the village. I think we should, take all the residential tax dollars out of the DDA tax capture. I think it's ridiculous that we continue to have residential tax dollars being used for commercial development. It just doesn't sound right, doesn't make sense, and doesn't belong in our community. I agree with some of the other council's people's objectives. I would like to prevent having to pass on an increase in the sewer and water rates to the customers this year. We have phase 2 and phase 3 water projects coming, sewer and water projects coming. We have to sell more bonds, and we're going to have to jack up the sewer and water rates. That's guaranteed for sure. I would like to make no rate increases this year. I'd like to take that residential tax dollar capture money from the DDA and put it towards, that would mean taking our general tax revenues and paying for the sewer and water bonds out of the existing tax dollars instead of raising all of your rates and bills. So it's called reapportioning the wealth. It's not really a socialistic method, it's a capitalistic method. So I think that now that the DDA has consolidated their operations into a $5 million lumberyard project, that I don't see any plans for yet, I think we should take those residential tax dollars and apply them towards the general village debt. I'm currently paying from my tax dollars and my sewer bill, I am paying for millions of dollars in pump stations on the islands. I don't have a pump station. My sewer just goes downhill. It's good for 100 years. So it's gross. I agreed to this grossly unfair practice of making the entire community paying for something that benefits only a small portion, because I believe in all for one and one for all with the community. So for us to take a portion of our residential dollars, that would be taxes that would be mine, and use them for commercial development is friggin' ridiculous. And I'm going to jack your sewer rates up. Okay? Now is the time for the village council to take a position on appropriately funding this government. Okay? We need money for a lot of things, and I don't think commercial development on my tax dollars is something that we need right now. I think we need to reprioritize. So those are my goals and objectives for this year. Is I would like to redistribute the tax revenues to pay for the services that benefit the community, not a small group of businesses downtown. They can continue on with their commercial tax dollar capture and use their own commercial tax dollars to fund their commercial projects. It's pretty simple. Very clean. Thank you.
Other council comments? Ms. Mosier?
I am remiss, I didn't send in any goals and objectives either. My two things I primarily ran on when I ran for council was infrastructure, streets and sidewalks, which are being done. But I too am concerned and happy things are rolling along, but I am concerned that we are taxing the people. It's a lot of money. And we have a lot of seniors, and that's my main concern is there a different way? I know we've applied for bonds, but my concern is not just because he's my husband, but I do agree with the DDA redistributing the money so that it's not falling on the citizens through the DDA, because I've had all kinds of people tell me, you know, they're not going to be able to afford to live here anymore. The taxes are huge, and, you know, we're all paying for the water, which has doubled at least, the sewers, and I agree that, you know, we're paying for these pump stations that the majority of the village don't even use. I agreed to it, we voted for it, I agreed to the water, we had to do something, but there has to be a different way to manage what we are charging the people of the village, because the assessments are going to be huge, and if there's a way we can try to stretch that out, but something has to be done financially differently, because all of a sudden we're doing, you know, the sidewalks and the streets, and it's all being done at once, which is wonderful, but nothing has been done for 20 years, and now we're doing it, which I'm really happy about. But it's very taxing on the citizens of the village because of the increases. So I think if there's a way we can look at how to change the way that's financed. I know Mr. Stevens sent an email about doing some different assessing, which I thought was very thoughtful. And he's always thinking, even though when he's not living here, he's in Florida. But there has to be something different. We can't just slam all these people who have not been paying these kinds of prices with everything at once. It's not realistic, and people will move out because, especially the elderly, because they're not going to be able to afford it. So that's my thought.
Other council comments? Mr. Papachek?
Yeah, I had a few goals listed. People can go, I think a lot of them were listed in the packet, but yeah, to your point, it was, one of them I think was making household costs predictable, right? We've heard from a lot of people sort of getting blindsided with increases in water bills, and taxes are high. Now, a lot of people are going to get special assessments for streets and roads and all these things. So at the top of my list for goals was to reduce or minimize that taxpayer burden, right? We've got a lot of expenses, and it shouldn't all, you know, too much of it is getting passed on to the taxpayers. I think so to me, that's a goal. Now, we all have different tactics or thoughts or ideas on how to maybe achieve that goal, if that is an agreed upon goal, but, you know, and we're getting into some of that solutioning here, which is great. I tend to agree. You look around, and it's that allocation issue, right? The people voted 2 years ago, right, to fully fund the DDA, right? So a lot of residential taxes gets captured there, which, you know, that's what I don't know that everyone who voted that way realized then what you're doing is sort of shortchanging or defunding what the village can fund in terms of infrastructure. Water bills are going up, everybody. And not to say we voted for it, but we kind of voted. But, you know, that's the distribution and balance here. So I do think we need to take a look at that, because I think it's gotten a little out of balance over the years, and the residents are shouldering more of a burden than they have in the past. So to me, that's a big goal and something we talk about a lot and have to address. I brought it with me. I got it today, $594 for my water bill, right? I mean, I'm sure people have me beat, yeah, but
I beat you
I know.
on the higher end.
And I'm picturing in another year or two, that's going to be over $1,000, right? So how do we fix this? You know, the village needs more funding. There's residential tax dollars being captured by the DDA. That's one solution potentially we look at. There's maybe other solutions too, but, yeah, that's at the top of my list for goals. We all feel it. We all pay a little bit more and more each year.
I think for me, I could get on my soapbox and tell you why I think the DD is a good thing, and that, in the long run with our infrastructure fund, that it will be better for residents in the long run. I could get on I'm not going to, because I think we all share the same goal in affordability for residents, in trying to make this a place that people can live sustainably long-term, stewarding taxpayer dollars well. We may disagree on how to do that, but I think the goal is the same there. And the goals are listed here in the packet for members of the public to comment on, to give us input in order to help us shape what the goals should be, because they do provide direction for us for the coming year and provide direction for our administration. So would encourage residents, if you're not prepared today, read through those ideas. These aren't our final goals. We're having meetings about them to discuss the different goals that we have for the village. And they're broken down into different categories, financial management being a large category, and assets and infrastructure and, our parks and, community images. So there's a number of different things that go into there. And we welcome, and I think that was the intent, to get more public participation on these goals. We won't have all the solutions by the time we fix these goals. The solution, but those goals help us work towards solutions. And so we're not chasing the wrong goals and ignoring some of the bigger things that we need to face. So I would encourage members of the public to, give us your input, whether that's through an email, coming to a meeting, calling us up, or letting the village administration know as well. Any other council comments? Any public comments? Seeing none, if there are no other comments, then we can move on, because there's no motion for this one. Yeah,
Question?
Mr. Lim. Yeah.
So we probably should have been having this discussion in this next grouping.
The next discussion item is how we're going to continue to have these discussions. Right now, we have special meetings scheduled, but there's a council member who's submitted a request for an alternate methodology of discussing these.
Okay, so I just have one more comment, as always, on the goals and objectives submitted by others. Okay, since I personally didn't submit any goals and objectives, I did note that one of the council people had submitted a goals and objectives to discuss combining the village with the township. And just want to make it all clear to you that after the cityhood committee, that worked out really well. It took quite a beating, though. It took a personal beating on that, even though I wasn't the originator of that thought. So if we go down the road with that committee, I'm going to volunteer to participate in that committee, and I want everybody to know I don't want to take a beating on just discussing that topic. But it's on the table, and other people have brought it up. So I'm going to talk about it. So I brought it up.
And we will have further discussion about all these goals and solidifying if this is a goal too. So with that, we'll move on to item 10B, forum for discussion of fiscal year 2026-27 goals and objectives, requested by Councilmember Dandelides. Mr. McCleary, would you like to give the background on that?
Your Honor, if it's okay with you, I will turn this over to Councilmember Dandelides for comment.
Thank you, and I'm going to try and do a whole lot better on this one, because I was a total flop on the last one, because my whole intent was to get resident input, and we got to seeing none, hearing none. So I feel like a failure on that. So the next item, and I really invite the discussion here, but in previous years, we have, our format has been, we've had special meetings to discuss the upcoming goals and objectives.
Councilmember, if I could just interrupt you, and I apologize, could you still speak into your microphone, though? Because the sound is being picked up for broadcasting, we're just not hearing it in the room.
Okay, thank you. I didn't realize that. Thank you. Okay, so in previous years, our method has been to have special meetings, have discussions, the council, typically in the conference room, where we discuss the goals and objectives and then bring something into one of our regular meetings after all those discussions have taken place. And realistically, we bring in the final draft of goals and objectives, and then that's when the public would first see that. Unless folks came to the special meetings, those are certainly open meetings, and the public is welcome. But they're typically in the conference room, and they are not televised on TV, and they are not recorded for on TV, so that from a transparency standpoint, I just feel like we've gone through such a fundamental process of establishing the roadmap for the coming year for both council and administration, and I feel like we've done that. I don't want to say in a vacuum, but we certainly didn't do it in the regular forum with with on TV carrying the meeting live, and then the ability to go back and look at the recording at any time on demand. So my thought was to bring those discussions into our regular meeting here, so that they would be recorded, they would be live streamed, and so it would not only be, in my mind, more transparent, but would also help to get resident input and resident critique of what our realistically our roadmap's going to be for the coming year. So I put together what I would propose we do for this year. And again, I would invite discussion, because I know my idea is probably not the best one, but maybe it's a stepping stone to something that's better. So in the middle of what I put together, which was in the agenda packet and we all have in front of us, my thought was that we put this on as an agenda topic to be added to each of the next 2 regular council meetings. And currently we have special meetings, so that we would meet in the conference room as a special meeting from 5:30 to 6:30. My proposal is to, instead of meeting in a special meeting from 5:30 to 6:30, we take that hour block and we bring that into an hour into our regular meeting and have those discussions. The discussion at those regular meetings would be limited to 1 hour, and that's realistically what we would have in the conference room. So we're not really shortening the amount of time, we're just moving that time block into the regular meeting. My suggestion would be that we agree at the beginning of that discussion to be, I'm going to say, less formal. So typically when we have an agenda item, each council member gets opportunity to speak on that item. Then we have opportunity for public comments. I would like to see more candid discussion, so maybe relax the Robert's Rules of Order for that particular hour. And I believe we could do that. We've done that in special meetings. And my thought would be that we're doing that in the open forum instead of the special meeting, and again invite public comment and critique. And then the final would be to take what came of those 2 discussions, as we would have done in what we have our typical process would be to bring those final goals and objectives then into a February 23rd regular meeting for approval. So basically, I'm just asking to have the discussion instead of in a special meeting that's not televised and not recorded. I'm suggesting we move that time slot into our regular meeting for that discussion. So my recommended motion would be, utilizing the input received from each councilman and any additional resident input, direct the village manager to prepare for and lead the discussion on the 2026-27 village goals and objectives in 2 one-hour topics at our upcoming January 26th and February 9th regular meetings, per the proposal presented above, which is basically what I just read. I also attached a sheet on here anticipating the question, do we have time?
Did you make excuse me, George, did you make a motion?
I did.
Well, sorry. Okay.
Is there support?
I'll support you, George, for the purposes of discussing this with.
Thank you.
With the family.
So in anticipation of the question, do we have time, I went and pulled the meeting minutes from all of our meetings since we have changed our start time to 6:30, which happened on July 28th. And that's also in the agenda packet. I'm not going to read it, but the bottom line is we do have time. If you look at the history of our meeting length, we have time to add that hour and not go beyond our 9:30 stop time.
Other council comments? Mr. Lamb?
It looks like George is blaming me for these long meetings. I've just got my name referenced in there on
I think
the
he
notes
is.
quite a bit. And there's other topics there. Okay. I'm not, you guys can't keep blaming me for keeping you here late. Yeah, so George, I have two questions for you. The first was, these two meetings, would they normally be the two meetings that Darwin had scheduled for the same discussion?
Exactly.
So this motion here, I'm thinking that you said a lot of things in order to, if we were to go down to this path. I think I'm going to support this because I like to have this stuff in the public, and it's not, if there's anything private, we can go to closed session or schedule a special meeting or something. So I don't mind keeping this all together. I think your motion might want to include today, though, during this period, to suspend the rules of procedure and follow the rules that open forum rules that we usually follow during these special meetings, where we talk more often than the 2 times for 4 minutes. So I'm asking after this that perhaps you consider amending your motion to just make that change now, and then I would re-support that if possible. And then other than that, I support it's not asking much.
So I think I've got covered what you said in bullet number 3 of my 4 bullets. That was my intent. I probably didn't word it as eloquently as you, but that was my intent.
Just want to be clear that we all are on the same page when I start talking for a long period of time during the meeting.
Okay, so I have a question, and I might have missed this. We would start it at the regular time at 6:30, not at 5:30?
Correct. The whole point is to move the discussion instead of the hour before the meeting. Let's just make it an agenda item and have it during our meeting. Same days, same hour, just instead of doing it at 5:30, we do it whenever it shows up on the agenda, same hour. We set a timer for the hour so that we constrain.
We might have to adjourn the regular meeting, create a special meeting, because we'd have to look at Robert's rules to create a time-bound, because our current meetings are time-bound only to 9:30. So if we end at 7:30, we could conceivably talk for 2 hours. If you want to limit it to 1 hour, we might have to look that up as far as, can we limit an agenda item to 1 hour? Or would we have to create, adjourn new meeting to limit it? But
And that's why
Yeah.
I suggested having the discussion, because I'm not the expert on that, on how procedurally how to do that. I'm just trying to get the discussion into a more open and televised and recorded discussion, that's all.
So I agree with that. I think that's a great idea. I don't ever want to go past 9:30 again in my life. Ever.
Don't look at me.
I'm not looking at you. So, if we can do all of that and we can get it in, because there have been nights, maybe before you were on council, that we went long. And, I really like the newer time that we started at 6:30. We've been getting out of here at a decent time. I just want to make sure if we do that special meeting that we're sticking within a time frame and we're still getting to all the agenda items, because some nights we have a lot of agenda items. And that's my only concern about that, is I just really never want to go past 9:30.
Mr. Ford?
Yeah, I don't mind it being out in the public more if it gets televised in our meeting. I just want to make sure that, I think you hit on something that if we, it may not be this goal discussion that keeps this over, but it might be other items on the agenda that are longer on that day. So is there a way to compensate that? My question. If we, where this goes on the agenda might be part of that. If it's early on the agenda, we'll get our hour in, but then will we have time to maybe address another agenda item that might require more discussion than we anticipate? If we put it at the end of the meeting, we're, might be going past 9:30. I don't know how to regulate that.
And I guess, did you have another thought?
Well, other than the fact that I lost that thought.
Sorry, my bad.
Did I write it down? Well, as long as I am allowed time if it pops in my head.
No, I think what I was thinking was I agree with wanting it to be more open and transparent. I wonder if it becomes a little bit harder, so if people don't want to sit through a whole council agenda, they don't know when to come. If they see the agenda, like, I don't really want to come for all this, I just want to have some input in the goals. It becomes a little bit harder for them to come in. So I'm wondering, not that I love coming in at 5:30, if there's a way to come in here and have on TV record it, and we still have it in this space, have on TV record it, even if they cannot do it live. And they may be able to, I'm seeing nods that it can still be recorded to then put out to the public, instead of having it in the council or in the conference room. That way it becomes a little bit more predictable for members of the public if they want to have that input. It's at 5:30, they don't have to stay for the whole agenda. We welcome them to stay for the whole agenda, but then it becomes a little bit more consistent from a time standpoint. I also know that, our audit is being pushed to later, so there's that presentation that is going to affect timing as well. So I'm wondering if that might be a better route, is to keep it at 5:30, but put it in here with on TV recording it.
Well, could we move, go ahead. Could we just move the whole council meeting forward an hour for those two meetings then? And not confuse everybody?
Your Honor, if I could make a suggestion,
Yeah.
just keep the special meeting for 5:30, just have it in here rather than in the conference room. I believe on TV would be able to broadcast the special meeting as well as the regular meeting. That may make it a lot easier for everyone, and also accomplish the purpose that Councilmember Dandelides wants to accomplish, and that is openness and transparency in our discussions on the goals and objectives. And one more note while I've got the floor, because I don't know if I'll get it again, but just to note for you that I will not be here at the January 26th meeting. I will still be on vacation. If you're comfortable with acting village manager Amundson handling that first meeting, that's fine. Otherwise, you might want to look at February 9th and then the second meeting in February. But either way, I think just handling the special meeting by moving it into the council chambers rather than the conference room.
Maybe we'd rather have him than you.
And then would you, Darwin, contact on TV
Yes.
about that, okay.
Mr. Ford, then Mr. Lamb, in case that was the thought that you forgot.
It was.
And then you forgot again?
No, I wrote it down this time. And I appreciate the fact that when we have a special meeting that, when George, you mentioned, they're a little less formal. And I get the advantage of that. And it may not have an issue with dealing with our goals and objectives, but if the one thing about the Roberts rules, maybe that's kind of what I got from what you said, Teresa, is that we maintain control of the meeting. With less formal rules, we don't always, and if there's an issue that comes up and somebody's, wants to argue another point, we don't have as much control because Robert's rules aren't in place. Is that just a thought? That's all I had.
Mr. Lamb?
Yes, so I like Darwin's idea. So previously, I recommended we have the special meetings in here. Nobody wanted to come in here because they all like to sit at the little table and stare at each other. So I like that idea. So if On TV is willing to, to come in. I want the transparency. I want the people to watch. A lot of people watch. So yeah, I would really support that idea.
Mr. Comparoni?
Stan took my thought. It's gone. It's just gone.
I will grant you
That doggone Stan
the
does it
floor.
every time. I like it in there because it gets more personal and stuff, and here we're just kind of looking out into space, and you get kind of lost. That's my thought on that. And, you know, this 9:30 thing, we moved the hours, moved an hour ahead, but we always kept it 9:30, so we actually added an hour to these meetings,
No,
possibly.
it used to be 10:30.
It's 9:30.
No, it used to be
It was
10:30, and we
7:30 to
moved it to
10:30.
9:30.
Okay, I'll take that, sorry about that. So I guess Stan told my, I'll blame it on Stan.
So currently, we have a motion for doing the special meeting as an agenda item at the end of or added as a topic to January 26th and February 9th. Is there any other discussion on that? Mr. Ford?
I don't have a problem with what we're doing here. If our only thought process, though, is to make sure it's recorded and put out and, you know, so the public can see, our goals and objective is kind of more of a minor topic. We've had other topics that are a lot more maybe important, maybe up for debate that we do in there. This is only for goals and objectives. If we do it for goals and objectives, then now we have the head and lines issue today. And you know, an important issue like that comes up won't be televised because we're going to do a special meeting on that. We might be seeing this type of proposal again for other meetings.
Can I comment on that?
Yeah.
So I would suggest that this is a more important subject because this sets our direction for the next year. And if we take setting goals and objectives seriously, okay, we will come up with a very specific set of goals that are measurable and they're achievable, right? And that's what we ought to be driving towards. And so what I was driving for was to not only have that in a more transparent atmosphere, but I was also driving to try and solicit and beg for input other than going in the chat room and seeing the criticism. I mean, I hate to say it that way, but in all reality, I would like to see some of that come in here in our regular meeting, and this is the opportunity. This is where we're saying these are the priorities that we as a council and an administration, these are the priorities. This is what we plan to execute next year, and I'd like to see that input. That's what I'm driving for. So I think this is a more important topic.
I'll allow you one more.
Thank you. That wasn't my issue. It wasn't that this was not important. I said I'd go along with this. My issue is we have other important things too. And this is just for goals and objectives, and that's great. But if we have some other things, are we going to again see this type of thing, and is it going to fit every other format? If our goal is to get people to get involved in it, I love it. But we have other issues that we have special meetings for that aren't. Darwin's idea is to do it at 5:30, and we have everybody there. It's covered if we can, get them to do it. Great. No, I wasn't against this at all. Thank you.
So I think the overarching question is how we do special meetings. Are they always in there? Are they always in here? That kind of, what is the philosophy behind special meetings? As I think what is starting to be discussed, special meetings in there, I like having just the informal atmosphere. They always are tape recorded, so you can request a recording. It's easier to go on TV. I understand that. So I think that's a larger discussion that we can have about, the philosophy behind special meetings, where they're at. I think I'm fine having it in here on TV recording it, but I would, as much as I don't love 5:30, I think just from a consistency basis for someone who wants to come in and participate in this, I think 5:30 is a better time than adding it as an agenda item that we don't know when it's going to land time-wise. Obviously, we want people here for the whole meeting if they, want to be, but understand that people have other things that occupy their time and they may not always be able to sit here for a whole agenda. Mr. Lamb?
Okay, I'm lost now. So George's motion still stands. Darwin suggested that we just take these special meetings at the 5:30 time period and go public with them.
Right here.
I think I said that's perfectly fine with me. I don't see the difference. I think George's goal was to publicize the meetings on the TV. So I'm pretty much good with either methodology because I like to stay up late and talk a lot. So, but I think Darwin's suggestion may have a lot of merit because it would automatically, and plus Teresa's comments about the rules, we wouldn't have to mess with anything except just move our bodies into here and then Darwin get the approval of on TV and all the heads are going that don't want to stay later. So I think that's where we're at.
Yeah, so currently we have a motion on the floor. Any public comment on it? Okay, so we have a motion, current motion on the floor is to add an agenda item, cancel our 5:30 special meeting, add them as an agenda topic to the January 26th and February 9 regular agendas for goals and objectives discussion and development, and limited to 1 hour candid discussion at those 2 meetings. So I'll take a roll call on that.
Councilmember Papachak.
Yes.
Councilmember Danielides.
Yes.
Councilmember Mosher.
No.
Pro Tem Ford.
No.
President Rudd.
No.
Councilmember Lamb.
Where are we at now on the votes?
3-2.
3 yeses,
3 noes,
3 noes?
2 yeses.
So if I vote yes, it puts it on Campanari, right?
Comparoni, yes.
Yeah, Camparoni.
You already said no.
Huh?
You already said no.
I'm going to go with the no because I like, no would mean I'm going to want to go to the second motion. So no, sorry.
Councilmember Comparoni.
No.
Okay. Motion fails, 5-2.
So can I make a new
Yes.
motion?
Oh,
Yes, go ahead.
I move that we keep the 5:30 timeline with on TV covering it so that it's out there, and that limits us to the hour prior to our 6:30 normal meeting.
In here.
so the same
In here,
motion is.
and it was held in here.
Same motion with George's points, except we're going to do it at 5:30 in the special meeting.
Yep.
Yes.
All George's points will stay in.
I'll support.
So you have a motion and support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 10C, second reading and adoption of ordinance amendment to Chapter 50, garbage. Mr. McCleary.
Your Honor, council is being requested to give second reading to and adopt an ordinance which amends Chapter 50 garbage of the Village of Lake Orion Code of Ordinances. The amendatory ordinance removes reference to specific fees for garbage collection and inserts language that the fees will be established by resolution of the village council. The current ordinance had specific fees established in the ordinance that are no longer applicable.
Thank you. So just to be clear for the public standpoint, because we love our garbage here in the Village of Lake Orion, this does not change our garbage service at all. This is just a housekeeping item, so we don't have to change our ordinance every time we negotiate a contract and have the fees. That would require us to change our ordinance. So this is just established by a resolution. When we negotiate a contract with a garbage company, then the resolution updates the fees and not having to go through public hearings and change the ordinance for those. So, council comments? Mr. Ford?
I'll make the motion to give second reading to and adopt an ordinance to amend the titled, is that 5? Public Works, Chapter 50, Garbage, to require that the garbage collection service charge will be set by resolution of the village council and to direct the village clerk to publish the required notice.
Support. Other council comments? Any public comments or questions? Seeing none, we have a motion and support. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 10D, Legal Services Review Committee recommendation. Mr. McCleary.
Your Honor, members of council, the Ad hoc Legal Services Review Committee has completed its preliminary work in accordance with the direction of the village council. The committee has adopted a recommendation for council's consideration. The recommendation is to recommend to the village council that the law firm of Gianmarco, Mullins, and Horton of Troy, Michigan be selected to provide general prosecution, litigation, and other legal services for the village of Lake Orion, subject to the committee's negotiation of an acceptable services contract with the firm and subsequent approval of the contract by the village council. And I do want to note that we did receive the law firm's suggested contract for the committee to be able to work from as they negotiate the terms.
Thank you. Council. Mr. Dandelides.
So I'll make the motion to accept and approve the recommendation from the Legal Services Review Ad Hoc Committee to select the law firm Gianmarco Mullins Horton of Troy, Michigan, to provide general prosecution, litigation, and other legal services for the Village of Lake Orion, subject to the committee's negotiation of an acceptable services contract with the firm and subsequent approval of the contract by the Village Council.
Support. Would you like to make first comments?
Sure. So the first thing I want to do is recognize the committee and Darwin's leadership in leading us through that. I think the process that Darwin led us through, I think, was very, very effective, and I think it was well run. And I commend all of us that participated in that. But also, Darwin, thanks for the leadership of pulling that together. And I firmly support the recommendation of the committee. I think we'll be very satisfied, and I think we've recommended the right action. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Lamb?
Thank you, Madam President. First off, I'd like to tell the committee I read all your minutes, and I think you did a great job. Unfortunately, I'm horribly disappointed at your lack of fiscal responsibility and not taking the low bidder. Okay, my basic complaint against the committee and their recommendation is that the low bidder was not selected. They are significantly cheaper, and after the butt whooping I've taken over the years from other council, not this one, about attorney's fees and whatnot, I think it's irresponsible of you, but I will support your selection because I respect you and your opinions. And on top of that, now, my understanding is that the new legal consultant has offered to not charge us for 15-minute consultation. Anything under 15 minutes, we won't be charged. This was presented to me by members of the committee. So at the next meeting, I'm going to request that the council revise the council rules that provide that only the president and the president pro tem may speak to the attorney. I believe that the charter was established where the attorney works directly for the council. And I think they're not for the village manager. The village manager works for the council, the attorney works for the council. I believe the rule change was intentionally designed to deprive certain council people of their right to counsel. It's not something worth litigating over. So now that the new attorney is going to give a free 15-minute call, I think every council member should be entitled to call the council and ask for a brief talk. It would be up to our council, not a council, but up to the legal counsel to notify the particular board member that their request would cost money or not. That would be their professional responsibility to us to say, well, Mr. Lamb, that's really difficult. It's going to cost us some time. It will cost us money. And then it would be, the onus would be put upon the council member to then bring their request to council for approval of spending. That's how it worked in the past with Kucharik, with Bear Howlett before the rule changed, and all the previous attorneys. Any of the council members could call them and ask a brief question about protocol, FOIA, is it appropriate? Simple things that none of us are attorneys, and I don't know how we are supposed to operate without proper counsel. So I got another second. I can call Darwin McCleary at any time and utilize as much of his time as I can keep him on the phone, okay? And I guarantee you that could be a long time. And that's expected. I should be able to quiz him. So someone as important as our attorney, we ought to be able to call him up and ask him a simple thing about whether something is appropriate or whether something is legal. And then the council should be able to tell us, that's going to cost money, you need to gather approval. So that'll be coming, I'm going to make that request for the next meeting, and I hope that you will consider it. Thank you.
Other council comments?
Yeah, no, I would just say it was a really good process, I think, that we went through, and great to go through that and vet and get to know a lot of the applicants, and I think we arrived at a pretty good spot in terms of the committee recommendation. But yeah, to your point, Councilman Lamb, yeah, it got me thinking, here I am on the committee making the recommendation, and I won't be able to talk to the attorneys, so it does seem odd to me. But yeah, again, maybe something for another discussion down the road, but it was enjoyable experience on the committee, and again, glad we came out to what I think is a good recommendation here.
Wanted to thank the committee. I also read all the notes and the minutes from the committee's work, and so thank you to our administrative staff who was on that committee and the council members as well. I know those were a lot of hours and time putting together, reading through attorney proposals aren't short. If you had seen any of them, they're thick booklets, and so going through all of those, scoring, interviewing, all of that work, and so just wanted to thank the committee for that hard work, and I'm looking forward to this council's work with, and the administration's work with the attorney that is selected. Mr. Camperoni.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, it was probably one of the hardest decisions that I was forced to make. But the process went really well. And I'm thinking, it can't stop with the attorneys. We could use the same process to do everybody else that works for us, the contractors and stuff. I think we need to come up with some kind of a policy to make it uniform for all contractual employees. But yeah, it was a tough decision on everybody's part.
Any public comment? So we have a motion on the floor to accept and approve the recommendation. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 10E, coordination of planning, zoning, and building permitting services. Mr. McCleary.
Your Honor, members of council, on December 8th, council directed the village manager to set up a meeting with the township building official, village planner, and 3 council members to review the current building permit and inspection services agreement to determine if the agreement is still applicable, whether the agreement is being followed, and what can be done to improve the service provided to village customers, and report back to council with recommendations. A meeting with the township was held on December 18th, and after that meeting, the village's committee made several findings and recommendations. I won't go through all of them, I'm sure you've read them, but as a result of the committee's meeting, they did make those recommendations. What I'm asking from council is that you make a motion to formally accept the findings and recommendations. And then there is another item that was added to the agenda tonight that carries through on these recommendations, and that is the necessary amendments to the services agreement.
Council?
What page is that on?
230,
230.
230, 231.
Sorry, so many pages, like 300 pages.
No.
231?
Well, to get us started, I'll make the motion to accept the findings and recommendations of the Building Services Review Ad Hoc Committee, and I'll read them out as follows. The current provisions of the April 15th, 24 agreement are not being completely followed. Township Building Department has made recommendations on specific changes to the process outlined in the agreement to improve communication and coordination of permit reviews. Administration will propose a revised interlocal agreement to the Township Building Department and Village Council based on recommended revisions. The township will, number 2, intends to migrate from the current BSNA.net system to the cloud system in March 26, which will provide online access to the township buildings, permits, and code enforcement system. The township will not charge for the village's read-only access to the township system and will not limit the number of village admin users. Item 3, village admin will implement process changes as recommended by the Township Building Department and approved by council under a revised interlocal agreement after the township's migration to the BSNA cloud software. And 4, village administration will review the efficiency and effectiveness of the revised permitting process within 6 months of the township's migration to BSNA cloud software and make further recommendations to the council as to whether to continue with the township's building and permitting services agreement or to transition to in-house services.
Support.
So I was part of that ad hoc committee, and it was a really great meeting with the township. And we are going to follow much more closely what the provisions were of that April 15th, 2024 agreement with some slight tweaks, as noted by Mr. McCleary. And the intent is to provide a streamlined experience for village residents. So right now, we use our GoGov system. They use BSNA. They don't always play well in communication. The communication isn't always great. And so permitting will be used through their BSNA software, providing just a more streamlined experience. When you go there, they'll be able to tell you a little bit more clearly timeline and process. And the hope is that it becomes much more clear for our residents, less confusing, and we look forward to working with our partners in the township on that. Mr. Lamb.
Thank you. I was also on the committee, and I've really got to appreciate that Mr. Goodlow, the township building official, and his staff came to the meeting willing, cheerful, and happy to work with us to resolve the issues. I think the main issue was communication, and I think one of the main problems was some of the citizens or applicants are taking advantage of the break in the communications between the township and the village. And so I think migrating to the BSA system, which I'm quite familiar with, I don't like BSA, but I think migrating to the BSA system will really smooth things up. And the other thing I want to point out is we left it clear in our agreement that the point of control with the BSA system will be on the button on our desk. So it won't be possible for the township to approve permits unless our staff have actually activated a window button on the BSA. So the accountability that was mentioned during some of the stuff prior to this meeting, I think will be completely eliminated by that cohesive software. And so that I think it was a great result for that problem. Thank you, Darwin.
Mr. Dandelides?
So all I want to say is I appreciate the folks that were on the committee taking the time, Darwin taking the time to sit down with the township and work through what we can do to improve the process, especially since I brought this up. I was the one that put this on the table, and so I appreciate the work that's been done and look forward to a closer relationship and a more streamlined process for our applicants and our residents.
The only question I have, Mr. McCleary, is with our read-only access to the township system, we just have to then, like, submit an email to them saying, check that box green? Is that,
We, from what I understand, we will be receiving an email from the township building department. Once they have initially reviewed the application, if there's action that needs to be taken by planning and zoning, that will be done, and then I am supposed to be receiving an email to give final approval
Okay.
from the zoning aspect of things.
so then you'll submit that to the township so that the box
Yes.
can be checked? Okay.
I do want to note, though, for council, just so that we're clear about the GoGov system, the GoGov system is our way of issuing permits, not just for zoning and planning. We use it for fences, we use it for signs, we use it for special events and a lot of other things. So the GoGov system will still be intact.
Yes.
We are also, during the 6-month period, going to be basically doing double data entry and keeping whatever goes to the township. We will also be transferring into the GoGov system. So if for some unforeseen reason there is a decision to bring building services in-house, we haven't lost that 6 months of data. We will have it in our own system. But I am optimistic, based on the meeting that I had with our planning and zoning team and Mr. Goodlow and his team last Thursday, that this process will work very well for us. It will improve communication and coordination, and we're all excited about it. McKenna will be moving to the township offices to do their work on Tuesdays. So they will be working out of that office and then bringing any hard copies back to the village hall for filing.
Didn't,
Mr. Lim?
the other point in here, Darwin, that you might want to point out, the option that you mentioned for the township to do our zoning review, now that would be to displace McKenna if we chose that option, correct?
That would be for simple residential projects like decks.
Yes.
If we wanted them to do that. We haven't made a final decision on that, but we wanted to incorporate that into the agreement in case administration decided that was something we wanted them to do.
Then how did you decide to integrate the required engineering site plan reviews, plot plans for the houses and stuff? Is that,
Engineering reviews will still be something that will be handled separately from the permitting process. For
residential,
house construction,
they're still going to be required, so my question to you was, part of the residential permit is the engineered plot plan where you check the walls and the grading and everything like that, which is a major problem for the village itself. It always has been. So is that going to be, we're going to provide the engineering services, but is that feedback loop with the building department going to be now included into that?
yes.
Okay, I just wanted to make, I didn't see any words here about that. Okay,
Yes.
thank you. Thank you.
Any other council comments, questions? Any public comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 10F, Amendment Number 1 to Agreement to Provide Building Inspection Services. Mr. McCleary.
Council is scheduled to consider approving Amendment Number 1 to the agreement to provide building inspection services. The amendment removes the township's fee of $500 per user for the township's BSNA permit system and adds a fee of $75 if the village opts to have the township building department review permit applications for zoning compliance for small residential projects. Those are the only two changes that are required to this agreement to implement the process that we've worked out.
Thank you. Mr. Lamb?
I have to ask him a question before I make the motion. Darwin, one of the key elements of zoning approval is when you submit a plan or an engineering plan, it says the deck needs to be 15 feet from the property line and 25 feet from the lake. Historically in the village, no one ever measures that. That was the reason why we asked for the engineering site plan review for each residential construction. Because even though we approve and do a zoning review and coordination, no one ever verifies that it was done. And so that's why we changed our engineering standards. So I needed to ask you, who's going to do those kind of verifications? Who's going to do the zoning dimensional? Who's going to check to see if the house is on the right place on the plot?
The police chief and I had that conversation
Oh.
just this morning
Very good.
because we were concerned about code enforcement and making sure that we address these issues as quickly as possible. So I am going to be having a conversation with our planning and zoning team to make sure that once the improvements are constructed, that they are constructed according to the plans.
Well, quite often, the engineering company that reviews the plan will send somebody out to measure if, I don't know what our relationship with inspectors and charging, but I'm sure McKenna would charge for an inspection. Whatever you recommend.
Yeah, the inspections would be done as part of their normal working hours with us through McKenna. If we were to have the engineers do it, it would be an additional fee. So I'd like to try to keep it within the existing office hours of McKenna if we can to avoid additional costs. But if that doesn't work, we may make changes.
Okay. So I'll make the motion to approve Amendment 1 to the agreement to provide building inspection services between the Village of Lake Orion and Orion Charter Township to amend the following sections of the agreement to read as follows. Section 11, the township grants the village access to township building department's BS&A software services for the purpose of facilitating building permits, inspections, and related tasks. Exhibit A is in there, but it's 5, Section 5, residential zoning review for small projects, decks, accessory structures, and single-family homes, $75 fee. All the provisions of the current agreement shall remain unchanged. The village manager is authorized to execute this amended agreement on behalf of the village.
Support.
We have a motion and support. Any other council questions, comments? Public questions or comments? We have a motion and support. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 10G, Justice Assistant Grant Acceptance and Budget Amendments, Police Department. Mr. McCleary.
Your Honor, if it's okay with you, I would like to turn this item over to the police chief for further discussion.
All right, thank you. In June of 2025, the Lake Orion Police Department was awarded a Burn Justice Assistance Grant. This grant was specifically designated to reimburse travel and tuition expenses associated with attendance at the International Association of Chiefs of Police IACP Chiefs Conference, which was held in Denver, Colorado in October of 2025. The IACP Annual Conference is a nationally recognized law enforcement conference that provides advanced training, professional development, and policy-level education for police executives. Attendance supports our departmental leadership development, exposure to best practices, and networking with law enforcement agencies worldwide. The Burn Justice Grant, Burn JAG, is a federal public safety grant funded by the United States Department of Justice and administered in Michigan by the Michigan State Police. It is a one-time restricted use grant intended to support the professional training, leadership development, and best practice learning for law enforcement agencies. All grant-eligible expenses related to travel and conference tuition were paid in accordance with grant guidelines. On December 3rd of 2025, the village received reimbursement payment from the state of Michigan for the approved grant expenses, as the expenditures were incurred prior to reimbursement. A budget amendment is required to recognize the grant revenue and offset the previously expended costs. The financial impact, there will be no net financial impact, will be zero to the village. This is just the acceptance of the $2,173 that we received, and that's the cost of this training was $2,173 for the net income of zero. And this is also attached to this motion, or to this summary sheet, I'm sorry, is the appropriate budget amendments reflecting this.
Thank you. I'll move to accept the grant money of $2,173 and approve the budget amendment of the subsequent accounts as follows. Increased revenue, $2,173 miscellaneous revenue in account 207000694,000, increase expenditure $445 in education and training in account 207-301-957-000, and increase expenditure $1,728 travel expense in account 207-301-863-000.
Support.
Council comments, questions? Public comments, questions? Oh,
Sorry. The only comment I wanted to make was, Police Chief Adamson, I certainly would have supported this regardless of the grant, because I think that this sort of training and exposure and experience, I think, is valuable, and I certainly would have supported it. But it's kind of like the icing on the cake to have gotten the grant to cover it also, so thank you.
any public comments? Do we need a roll call for this?
We can do one.
Thank you.
President Rudd?
Yes.
Councilmember Mosher?
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Councilmember Comparoni?
Yes.
Councilmember Papachak?
Yes.
Pro Tem Ford?
Yes.
Councilmember Danielidis?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Item number 11, call to the public. So same as at the beginning of the agenda, if anyone likes to speak, would like to address the council, stand, raise your hand, limit your comments to 4 minutes. Is there anyone for call to the public?
Where'd she come from?
Rosemary Ford, 225 North Broadway. Just have some comments on some of the things that were discussed tonight. One being the lift stations was a concern of some council members. And while I understand it's costly, my understanding in being at these meetings is that the lift stations all go into our general sewer. They're not just designated special for those people on those islands. I think we would all be in agreement that we all want good water. So that's just something that we just have to put our big boy, girl in pants on, because if we want clean water for this community, this is what we have to have. So we can't sit there and say, well, as was said months ago when this first came up, well, I think those people on those islands that have those lift stations should be assessed for that. That's a little on the crazy side, because it's affecting all of us. So I wanted to say that. As far as the comments on the DDA, again, it affects all of us. If it goes away, we do not get all that money back, and that needs to be made clear to the public, because that's a falsehood when they say we'll get all that money back. We won't, because a lot of those monies that we capture come from various organizations in our county. So if people think, oh, hey, yeah, we're going to get 500 G's back, we're not. When all is said and done, when you look at Oakland County Parks and Rec, I know the library here isn't affected, so let's say Oakland County Community College, various organizations like that, we capture those taxes. The good thing about capturing that is that then those monies that we have paid into those various organizations, we get to keep in our community. So to me, that's a good deal because it's here and it's not going elsewhere. As far as I understand, it's coming up again about the village and the township combining. This issue, I am 70 years old. This issue has gone on since as long as I can remember. My father was on the village council for 27 years. And in that entire time, I heard it. And I've continued to hear it on. What I have to just say, my input, and it'll keep coming back, is no, because people are fooling themselves if they think, oh, hey, this is going to be cheaper. Because guess what, kids? It's not. Do you think the township's going to take us on and say, oh, hey, yeah, we'll just take you on? Not on your life. And I don't mean that in a bad way against the township. But if they're going to incur, we have debt, people. Who's going to pay that debt? So the township will look at us and say, okay, yeah, if you guys want to go, we'll take a look at it. But then they're going to assess us for what our debt is. And we're going to lose services that we currently have that people have said time and again they value, like our own police force. Our streets getting plowed. We're not going to have to wait. I see that all the time on Facebook of people in the township waiting and complaining about that. Garbage. I'm sure a lot of you, if you're on Facebook, have seen people in the township are complaining about their garbage pickup. We don't happen to have that problem here. So you have to remember what you pay for and what you value. Because there's, as we all learned in economics and government, there's no such thing as a free lunch. And as far as costs going up, I agree. We all are aware of that, but you got to remember too, it's not just us, it's everybody. The county increased percentages on what we're paying. Look what they did to Orion Township. Chris Burnett even came out and said last year, they had planned on increasing their police protection by so much. The county came back, it was a lot more. Their hands were tied, they had no choice. And a lot of municipalities had that same thing. Township increased, I understand, on, oh, well, I had more to say, but thank you for listening. This will continue.
Thank you. Anyone else for public comment? Yes.
Hi, my name's Adam Piazza. I live at 181 Evergreen Trail. Excuse the attire, I'm coming directly from work. I have a plumbing company. Anyway, I wanted to just thank you for a lot of what you said over there. Really touched a lot of base on what I was already going to say, but you kind of hit it. But what I really wanted to talk about was fiscal sustainability and the relationship between the village and the DDA. I'm not here to attack anyone. I'm not here to represent a faction or push a partisan agenda. I'm here because I've been reading the budget documents, attending meetings, and trying to understand how our local government works, and what I found concerns me. The DDA's executive director reported on November 18th that the organization has, and I'm quoting, one budget year remaining in viability before the organization will be required to abandon village-based contracting. That's a warning. The village operates with a budget deficit exceeding $71,000. The DPW runs a deficit of nearly $26,000. We have $28 million in identified infrastructure needs over 6 years and receive only $101,000 annually from the state for roads. Meanwhile, the DDA captures approximately $1 million a year in tax increment financing. Roughly $420,000 of that 40% goes to service the lumberyard bond, and from what I understand from his last report, the rest is used up in various expenses from operations to others costs that the DDA provides. So zero, I repeat, $0 go to road infrastructure, and now the residents may be special assessed 75 to 90% of road improvement costs on local streets. Some in our community are asking whether the DDA should be dissolved. I understand the frustration, but after 40 years, the village is still struggling. Something isn't working, but I don't believe dissolution is the answer. The DDA provides access to grant programs the village cannot access alone. Match on Main, Main Street Vibrancy Grants. These require Main Street designation, which run through the DDA. In 2021, Lake Orion received a $50,000 T-Mobile hometown grant because the DDA's director identified the opportunity. That playscape at Greens Park exists because we have a DDA connected to a network that finds these opportunities. The DDA is a tool. The problem isn't the tool, the problem is how it's being used. Why does 40% of the DDA revenue service a bond for a lumberyard while 0% addresses the roads residents drive on every day? Why, after 40 years, does the organization have only 1 year of viability left? These are questions of priorities and management, not questions of whether the DDA should exist. I attended the December 16th DDA meeting. I was one of 2 citizens who spoke during the public comment. 2, at a meeting discussing the organization's fiscal viability. I also observed tension between the village and the DDA leadership over service agreements and contracts. That concerns me. When our institutions are divided, the community suffers. So what I'm asking for is simple: transparency, accountability, and a serious conversation about whether our current allocation of resources serves residents. Can we redirect even a portion of TIF capture towards infrastructure? Can we examine whether service agreements between the village and the DDA are structured fairly? Can we get more citizens engaged, which I heard you guys talking about today, which is really cool. Get more citizens engaged in these meetings so decisions aren't made in empty rooms. I'm not running for office. I'm just a citizen doing what citizens are supposed to do, showing up, reading the documents, and asking questions. So thank you for your time, and I have sources for the numbers I cited tonight, and thank you.
Could I get your name again?
Adam Piazza.
I couldn't. How do you spell your last name?
P as in Paul, I-A-Z-Z-A.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Anyone else for public comment? Seeing none, I'll close the call to the public. Item number 12, our DDA Executive Director is not with us today. So item 13, council comments. Mr. Lamb.
Great. I just heard the most amazing demonstration by a citizen that was paying attention in years. And I want to thank him for doing all that homework and coming up here and say those things. So last year, the council has decided that we can't get rid of the DDA for any reason because we have to pay for their bond debt. So the DDA is not going away for 20 years. We're stuck with them here. So the current proposals on the table for the DDA are take the residential taxes from their tax capture and let them keep their existing commercial taxes. That would be restructuring, spending the money. My intentions would be to direct that money to infrastructure. So I don't think, it sounds like a great idea to me. The DDA is an integral part of our community because of the $5 million bond that they sold to buy the lumberyard. Okay, my understanding right now, the state of their project. The state of their project is the village council sold and gave them $5 million in bond money. They bought the lumberyard. They got a grant for $600,000 approximately from Oakland County. They spent $600,000 putting roofs on buildings that probably should have been torn down in order to stabilize the structures. So now we have a site that's cleaned up of debris, still contaminated, and we have buildings with nice roofs on them, and they have a couple $1 million left to develop that huge site into some kind of project that provides economic development for our community. So we are still waiting for a site plan for a proposed project for economic development for our community. This plan does not exist. And so this year on the Planning Commission, I'm going to wait for that. So fiscal responsibility, please. I believe that there is no oversight provided on the DDA spending. And we hear in council approved, and it was stated and verified by the village manager that the only authority the village council has over the DDA is to approve or deny their budget. The other opportunity that we have to control or exercise with the DDA is we can amend their tax capture district. We cannot dictate their practices. We cannot dictate what they do. We cannot dictate what they do in their tax increment financing plan. So my sole responsibility to exercise economic control of the village, not control, economic whatever, I can change the tax capture district, the council can change the tax capture district, or we can deny their budget until they submit a budget that we approve. Their directors argued that we have to approve their budget even if we don't like it. I'm not going to go there. I don't want to ever argue with that fellow again. So I'm really glad that you came up tonight and spoke. I feel strong knowing that another village person at least understands the situation regardless of whether we agree on a single word spoken. You're one in 2,900. Oh, and Happy New Year, everybody.
Thank you. Mr. Comparoni.
I got to follow that. Well, Happy New Year, everybody. Looks like it's going to be a good one. We're going to have a meeting to have other meetings to talk about the meetings we just had, and then have a meeting on that. Lions, fully support the Lions, and whatever their decision is, I'm behind them. Whether they have to redo everything or whatever, but Lions is the best organization there is. With that being said, the fire department, they're right up there too. So, you know, that's a tough one. Who the heck are you supposed to respect? You know? And you just got to respect both of them, I guess. But I do fully support the Lions and what they stand for. I was actually reading some of the police stuff, and I want to thank Mark, or thank the chief. But more off, I want to thank the reserves. The reserves had 1,800 hours last year. That's free. That's free, and they deserve a little bit of something or other. Because without them, Without the reserves, we wouldn't have the auto show downtown, we wouldn't have the Lions, we wouldn't have the Dragons, wouldn't have none of that stuff. Either that or it'd just be chaos. So I would just like to say thank you to the reserves. The DPW, we had a couple pretty good snows. They were on top of it. Even though it wasn't a total of 2 inches, it was 1 3/4 inches of slippery stuff in 15 minutes. It was bad, and they were on it. And I appreciate the work that they do, and they come in on Sundays and what have you there. With all that being said, I look forward to this year and working here with everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ford?
Yeah, I attended the NOTA meeting this past December, and just the North Oakland Transit Authority is represented by Addison Township, Orion Township, Oxford Township, and the villages of Leonard, Lake Orion, and Oxford. Just as a public service announcement, the November ridership, they gave out some end-of-the-year numbers type of thing. For November, 8,333 rides were given. In October, it was over 10,000. So that's something that's paid for by our communities, and it's obviously being used and appreciated. Paint Creek Trail, another one I sit on representing the village, they had a trail counter at Tinkin Road in the trail, and for a year, and it totaled 140,000 users. That number's going up over the years, and with trail use comes the challenges, and we brought these things up before, but the e-bikes and the speed limits and stuff, electric skateboards and electric, I call them motorcycles still. Trail etiquette is an issue, and the other thing that they work a lot on is ensuring that the natural beauty and history is preserved in that trail. So those are some of the issues that they're dealing with. I'd like to welcome Matthew Craig to the Planning Commission, and I look forward to seeing some solutions and working with the Lions Club. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Dendelitis?
I want to start off just reiterating relative to the Lions Jubilee, this is not a discussion about support or non-support for the Lions or for the Jubilee. This comes down to, as we discussed, it comes down to public safety. And I'm hoping that and remain optimistic that we'll be able to come to some solution that achieves the purpose of what the Lions are trying to get at with the Jubilee. And again, I commit myself to helping with that if possible. Again, I was hoping for more input from our residents relative to goals and objectives. I do believe that this is an opportunity to, to put that input, provide that input of what we're going to make the priorities for next year. And I'd love to see that input in this forum as opposed to criticism down the line for what we did or didn't do. But I'd love to see that input. So we still have the 2 meetings coming up, the next 2 Mondays, the next 2 council meeting Mondays. They'll be at 5:30, and they'll be in this room, and I'm encouraging folks to come in and help us with that task. The last thing I wanted to mention is I attended our state representative, Donnie Steele. I attended one of her coffees this morning. One of the things that she talked about was that she'll be sending a letter out in the next week or so on what she called LDSI, and that's legislatively directed spending items. As she described this, it sounds very similar to me to state funding, similar to what we've applied for from a federal standpoint with our federal House representative. And quite honestly, so as she was speaking about these to the group that was assembled there, she used one of our CIP, one of our village CIPs as an example of what might be applicable to be, included in this potential funding. So hopefully we'll get that letter. She said it would be coming to you, Darwin. Hopefully there's something there that we can at least attempt to take advantage of. Costs nothing to try. So anyway, I was pleased that I heard about that, but that she also used one of our CIP as an example of what could be in that, submitted. So, thank you.
Ms. Moser.
So, I always start out by saying thank you to everybody who comes to the meeting. It's really, really nice to see. Hopefully more people will continue to come. Mr. Ford, I want to thank you for attending the NODA meeting, as I could not go, so I do appreciate that. There's one coming up, I think, this week that I'll be at. And the whole Lions Jubilee thing, it's very difficult because I appreciate everything that you guys do. But again, I have to stick with the safety and what the fire department suggests. So hopefully we can come to some sort of resolution. And I hope everybody's new year is starting out good and stay not sick, because there's all kinds of stuff going around. There's a new flu virus. So wash your hands. That's it.
Thank you. Mr. Papachek.
Yeah. Yeah, it's starting off the year. We're already hearing a little bit, the funding and the DDA issues are just, it's going to be, again, more of a common theme. I think the DDA is not going away. I don't think anyone wants it to go away. They're doing some good things. I think what we're looking at is the TIF map, right? And that's still what it comes down to for me. Look at Lake Orion's. I've done it. Look at Rochester, Oxford. Look at any other TIF map out there. We're an anomaly. I think it needs to be looked at again. Do the comparisons, because to me it's still the most obvious path to mitigating water, sewer increases, streets. Again, I'll look at it with an open mind, but I don't see TIF capture and DDA money getting spent on infrastructure on Bellevue, Park Island, North Shore, all these other parts. We got to look at the whole village here. So, again, the table for down the road. Let's finish it on a more upbeat note. It's 2026, right? There was a lot of talk tonight about goals. So, yeah, hope to get more input and feedback on goals. I don't know, words of wisdom. We should all have goals in life, right? Write yourself some goals, some personal goals, financial goals, family goals, whatever it is. This is the time of year. Health goals, a lot of people have health goals. So that's the time of year. So that's what I've got. That's your motivational speech for the night. Set some goals.
Thank you. Happy New Year, everybody. Hopefully everyone had a joyous holiday season. A couple of things when Mr. Ford was talking about the trail, as a trail user, when we have freeze-thaw cycles and you go onto a trail and when it's thawing, and you can create big ruts in there, big, footprints that are really difficult for the trail to maintain and smooth out. So just be conscious when we have these freeze-thaw weird weather cycles, to be conscious of using the trail in a manner that will make it good come spring as well. And thank you for the NOTA report as well. It's a great service to our residents, to our community, to the entire area, and to hear the number of rides that are given. It's a vital transportation link for us in our community. The DDA, I would encourage people to come to the DDA meetings. Get involved, listen, hear what's going on, what the plans are, where the sticking points are, what slows things down, what helps move things ahead. There's also a volunteer appreciation event coming up. I don't have the exact date off the top of my head, but when those come out and are advertised, come recognize the volunteers who volunteer a lot of time and energy to our downtown. in the last year, there was the Illuminators group that was created that have donated so many hours of community service to our downtown to make this place a great place for people to live and come and recreate. Also on Wednesday, there's the Main Street Accreditation Day. So at 2 p.m. on Wednesday here, please come, residents, business owners, come because this is a big time for the DDA. They bring in people to evaluate the programming, the finances, the structure of the DDA, and determine whether or not it's accredited for another year. Main Street accreditation is a big deal. It does make you eligible for other things. So they'll be meeting with the DDA board in the morning, but then at 2 p.m. on Wednesday, coming for the community, businesses, resident stakeholders meeting and giving input to the accreditors is welcome. So if you are inclined, 2 p.m. on Wednesday is the Main Street Accreditation Day as well. So I think those are all the things that I starred all over my paper. So with that, village manager comments.
Thank you, Your Honor. I wanted to start out by just thanking Mr. Piazza for his thoughtful comments to the council and to administration, and his support for the village, for the DDA, and expressing his concerns about the finances. I did want to clarify one thing that, one comment that was made. The village is not operating at a deficit in any of our funds. In fact, in the general fund over the past 3 years or so, we have actually added about $500,000 to the general fund balance. DPW fund went from, I think it was $20,000 when I came in to, in the new audit report, I think you've got a fund balance of about $160,000 if I remember. The police department's been able to maintain its $200,000 fund balance, which is about 20% of its operating expenditures, which is exactly on target with where we need to be. The village is in good financial shape, but Mr. Piazza also pointed out a very important fact, and that is we have about $26 million in capital needs. Not all of those are high priority needs, but they're the needs that we have identified as being something that is that needs to be considered. Some of them are high priority needs, and some of them come with high price tags. So we do need to plan carefully. I know Councilmember Dandelides, this is near and dear to his heart, planning out all of these capital needs and how we're going to fund them. And we do need to have serious deliberations as to how we do that. But overall, the village is in good financial shape. We want to keep it that way. We are going to continue to be diligent in moving forward and planning our finances so that we can address the needs of the village. And with that, Your Honor, I want to point out that you did receive the manager's report tonight. I provided you with some information on our administrative assistant position. We did go through the recruitment process for that position. We have hired our new administrative assistant, Kirsten Barber. She started last week, January 5th. And because of filling this new position, we have been able to expand the office hours for village administration from 4 days, 7 o'clock to 4:30 p.m. to 5 days, Monday through Friday, 7:30 to 5:30 p.m. So we want to make sure that that information gets out to everyone and that we have posted that information on the homepage of the village's website. But we do want to welcome Kirsten Barber to our team. We are thrilled to have her join us. She is a village resident, so we are thrilled to have her with us. I provided you with information on the police department online reporting tool, and Chief, did you want to just comment very quickly on that?
I'll be very quickly on this. It's one of my goals in this department and village and community to be a lot more transparent and open to the public and to the council of what the police department's actually doing. So occasionally, I'm going to put some stuff in the village manager's report to update. But to better serve our community, the LOPD has launched a new online police reporting tool on our website. Residents can now file an online police report if, instead of calling the police to their house or coming up here. There are strict requirements on the police. It has to be certain, on the reports, it has to be certain types of crimes, and there cannot be any suspect information or any follow-up. All the reports that are reported, the one requirement is it has to have occurred in the Village of Lake Orion's jurisdictional limits, and all of the reports will be reviewed by a LOPD police officer. So if there is something or any kind of follow-up, the LOPD police officer will reach out to that person for follow-up. The online reporting tool is available on the Lake Orion Police Department's website under online reporting. And the other thing I'd like to throw out there is we've been making a lot of updates and changes for transparency, for community involvement on our webpage, and I encourage every one of you and everyone listening to visit our website for the updates and changes. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Also, Council, I provided you with an update on some issues that we've been having in the council chambers. Camera system, I'm pleased to inform you that On TV has taken the cameras from the school administration boardroom and has installed them here in our council chamber since the school administration has moved to another facility. And from what I understand, we should be seeing much better video of our council meetings and other board and commission meetings. And you're distracting me with your finger puppets.
You do this?
Also,
Cameras everywhere.
as you know, we've been having some issues with the audio system. On TV has diagnosed those issues. They've ordered some equipment. It is going to be a little bit of time to get that equipment in and installed, but On TV is working on it. I have been assured that even though the speakers are not working when we speak into the microphones, that the audio is still going out as part of our broadcast. So the public, when they watch our meetings, they are hearing what we're saying. I've noted for you that I am out of the office starting tomorrow. I'll be on vacation for the next 2 weeks. In the meantime, Police Chief Amundson will be serving as acting village manager, so you are in very capable hands. And I provided some upcoming important dates for your information. That's all I have, Your Honor.
Thank you. So, thank you. I'll support. So we have a motion and support. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Meeting's adjourned. Thank you.